Gonna skip getting beat, and Polar can explain what that means as soon as I start here. I'm just gonna go.
Alright.
Probably selected Wayman now. It's fine.
Right. So we're moving on from Mega Man 2 to Mega Man 5. They are casually very similar games, but there are a few major differences that make the speedruns very different. First of all, you can see Jokaah sliding here. That was added in Mega Man 3, and it makes your horizontal movement twice as fast. So instead of having to walk through screens, which you want to avoid any way as possible, you can move twice as fast. And a huge part of the run is minimizing your jumps, minimizing your time spent walking. Any 2 frames you're not sliding, you're basically losing 1 frame of time. Another thing we can see already is the charge shot, which is hugely powerful. It's the Mega Man 5 version is its best one. So, and another related difference is that menuing is much slower. Every menu, exiting and entering, takes at least a second and a half. So you're gonna see much less different weapon usage. But that's okay because Mega Master is so powerful.
If this stage looks scary, it's because it is. This is one of the scarier stages because there's so many like tight jumps and damage boosts and spikes everywhere. And okay, we're in the boss door, so now it's fine.
Right. So I was more focused on general stuff about the game, but it's alright that the very first stages in this game are the most dangerous, basically. And anytime he's going just barely missing spikes, it is actually that dangerous. It doesn't just look like it. So after the boss fight ends here, there's some manipulation you can do. The way low gravity works in this stage is that you have normal gravity every 3rd frame and no gravity at all the other 2.
You can't tell what's happening, but I saved roughly a second, I think, right
it's
now.
It's like a second and a half or something.
Yeah, second and a half. Yeah, I'm trying to do like a 1 frame jump right before the boss end music starts, and that will set me up so I have like normal gravity for the jump and weapon collection.
Right, so if you do nothing, you have one out of 3 chance to get normal gravity there, which saves time. But there's this fancy interaction with jumping, pausing the death fanfare, and gravity working with the jump that makes a very small jump, guarantees it if you get it, time it correctly. Gravity is another tricky stage, and it's also where we first see super arrow usage.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of this weapon / item.
So every Mega Man game has some additional items that you can use to boost your movement, and Mega Man 5's unique weapon is super arrow, which is like item 1 and item 2 from Mega Man 2 combined, except faster and better and just all kinds of more powerful. So you're gonna see that used in almost every stage.
What that health? Health.
Also, health drops aren't as bad as in Mega Man 2. In Mega Man 2, refilling takes 8 frames every tick, so picking up a large refill costs over a second and a half.
I missed a letter. Can you explain the letters? No, did you already?
I didn't get to it yet. So in Mega Man 5, there's 5 introduces Mega Man's robot bird companion Beat, which is unlocked by collecting one of these letters in all the Robot Master stages. So traditionally in the speedrun we have collected all those letters and used Beat, and Beat is used in the run for 3 castle stage bosses. 2 of them aren't very important, it just saves a second and a 2 or a 2 over.
Yeah, it makes the fights easier, it basically just defeats the boss for you.
Right, but the main difference is the very last fight of the game, Primal Castle, where Buster fight is actually faster if you get obscenely lucky. But
so like 1% lucky, or whatever, 2%?
It's not quite that bad, but it's pretty bad. So what Beat does is that it makes the fight consistent. So a few years back, nobody did Beatless at all. The basic tricks were known, and Baron Haynes did a few attempts at it, attempts with it, but the odds of actually saving time with it were really low. And then there were a couple of bad runners, using it just for fun, because this is a more fun route. But since then, there's been a few more developments that save additional time with this route, and especially making the capsule fight better, more consistent. So right now it's pretty close which route is better, and the top 2 runners are currently doing beatless runs. So it's much more popular now. And Jokaah here is doing beatless.
Yeah, beatless is more fun. Oops.
Yeah.
It's
There
fine.
are only a few key differences. We'll get to them when we get there.
Yeah. So the main ones in the robot stages are that I can just don't collect the letters.
Right. The biggest one is actually coming up right after this stage. In Crystal Man stage, there's this really
I can just
weird
skip
glitch.
this one.
Right.
Or
no.
and the game punishes me right away for it.
Yeah, that's actually a really tight jump in beatless if you just keep going.
Fine checkpoint is right here, so
The timings don't really work very well for you for that specific jump. But yeah, in the first screen of Crystal, you can do this weird glitch, which basically bypasses the whole stage. Normally, if you do collect beat, like you can't do that because then you skip the letter too. And also, it happens that M tank, which is a super E tank, it refills your health and also other weapons. We use 3 of those, 2 or 3, over the run to refill super arrow in castle stages. And skipping it is a pretty big time loss. So overall, skipping the whole stage saves, what is it? I think it's like 13 seconds save and then 5 seconds lost because of no M tank. But that's still your main time save for...
yeah.
Oh, missing one shot.
Oh, whoops.
The shot timings in boss fights in this game are actually really punishing. In the first 2 Mega Man games, if the boss is in invulnerability, your shots go through him. So, for example, in the last run we saw the Flashman fight. If you shoot a bit too early, the boss will still continue to travel inside the boss and you get a nice little window to shoot. But in this game, if you shoot too early, your shot just gets immediately eaten. So it's,
Alright,
No,
coming up
yeah.
is a very exciting stage.
right. It would be actually one of the more exciting stages in the run.
Yeah, it would be a terrifying stage.
If we actually played it.
In an actual attempt, it's still terrifying because you have to do this very tight. Death.
So there's a weird little thing with these enemies here that consist of 2 parts. The game normally checks if there are a maximum number of objects on screen when creating new enemies or shots or whatever.
I can't defeat him.
And if there are too many, the new thing just doesn't spawn. But you see the guy,
I died.
guy on the right side of the screen?
You
He's
just have
on
to
his
wait to
bottom half.
respawn then.
So the top half is meeting. The game tried to create it and it caused an overflow, which causes a few quirky things. For one,
Does it usually take this long to respawn?
yeah, Jokaah's position now shifted from room 2 to room, I think it's 80 or something, which means he's past the boss checkpoint. Also, another thing that gets corrupted is the respawn timer, as you might have noticed by now. Instead of getting normal respawn time, I think it's, what was it, 10 times? 40 seconds or so?
Yeah. Yeah, around 40 seconds.
Yeah, so
You really have time to sit and think how good your run is up until this point.
yeah, so you might expect skipping a whole stage to save a lot of
Hey.
time. We could maybe get some donations now. That would have been a good time just now, but we'll make up for it.
Yeah, we have a few here. First of all, we have $100 from Serg Hug Party, who I think this was meant for the previous run, but they say, I have high hopes for this race. Happy Garfield Mondays and it's lasagna time. Then we also have $25 from Anonymous with no comment. And $100 from Nutfisk who says, let's see that blindfolded run.
One cool thing about on the first screen enable that we'll see is that Jokaah is going to forego charging the Mega Buster. Because one drawback of the user powerful charge shots is that they cause extra lag, so if you can conveniently kill enemies without using it, it usually saves a few frames. Killing that tiger there on the first screen. And right now we're going to a drill corridor. If Jokaah messes up killing these, those are instant kills running into those spikes there. I think he goes through just fine.
Yeah, you have to space out your shots because all of the enemies have invulnerability time.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to that. In the first Mega Man games, regular enemies don't have invulnerability, only bosses. But in Mega Man 5 specifically, all enemies have a certain number of them, so any the time you're killing enemies that take multiple shots, you need to space out your shots carefully so that they don't get eaten. And a few kills are actually really tricky, even if they don't look like it. Here we see Jokaah using gravity to conveniently bypass these screens. It's one of very few instances of the game where you switch to some weapon just to get through the stage faster. Even this one is actually kinda obsolete. There are now strats where you would earlier switch direct to the crystal, but those are obscenely hard and don't save a lot of time, so you rarely see them. But coming after this, oh yeah, we're in Napalm boss fight. This is one of the cooler ones in the run. Jokaah's carefully moving across the screen so that he's near Napalm when he jumps to make him jump shorter, and then far away when he starts to shoot, so he triggers a missile pattern instead of bombs, which you now didn't see, but which would cause extra lag and would be more annoying to deal with. So there's a very delicate back and forth.
Much harder than it looks.
And also, as I mentioned before, if he shoots a frame too early, then the shot gets eaten, nothing happens. And it's also, the strat is also pretty tight in that if you spend extra time anywhere, then you will have to deal with bombs right after he now just got killed.
This is my favorite stage, but it's really difficult to get everything right. There's a lot of tiny mistakes that can happen.
Yeah, Stone is also a very long stage.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of dangerous spots where a death sets you back by like a minute or something. You can get sent a really long way back to the checkpoint. This also, if we were getting beat in the bottom right corner of the previous screen, there would be a hidden path that would take you to Stone Ladder. That's one of the more costly ladders to pick up, so that's another little time save for beatless there.
And back to Super Arrow.
I think you only got the 2 1-ups so far, so expect to see a little more.
Yeah, I need to get up to like 7 at least.
Yeah, Mega Man 5 is famous for having a like an unbelievable 1-up drop rate. It's not unheard of to be maxed out on 1-ups by now.
Fly over the screen.
Yeah, here we see Super Arrow in action, why it's so good. Also Super Arrow, since it's also a projectile, you can kill things with it. If you shoot one with 1 energy left, it will stay on screen, so in many stages the energy usage is routed so that the very last energy you used takes you through a long screen.
Well,
here we see rush jumps.
Can I respawn it?
I was going to get to this later in the game, but rush jumps are actually
like this.
one of the most underrated tricks in the game. The way summoning rush works is that when you hit B, he flies from the top of the screen, and he'll like pop up when he reaches your position on the screen. So to get him, if you want to jump directly on top of him and get him to a specific height on the screen.
Perfectly, nothing wrong with that screen.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
You can do a 1-frame slide there, speed up the boss fight by like 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah, so anytime you summon rush, your A and B need to be spaced out very specifically. And the timing depends on where exactly you are on the screen yourself. So if you're high on the screen, you just slam them in simultaneously and it will drop right away. But if you're at the bottom of the screen, you usually need to press B, then delay just a little bit, then jump. And if you mess it up just slightly, it will end up too high or too low. Or it doesn't look much, but it's actually pretty tricky. Here we get to Chargeman, another one of the cooler stages in the game. The stage thematically takes place on a moving train. There are a couple of sections on top of it and one inside it. Some nice Super Arrow usage in the beginning again. And we see using the last tick of energy for a long flight here. After which we get to a chicken room, which is another case of using a specific weapon for...
Okay, so Jokaah, who are you dedicating this chicken to?
BJW.
Alright, Shadows
or
BJW.
this strat.
Oh.
BJW chicken class. So the big thing with crystal usage here is that with buster shots you can't kill those mouses and mice.
Get a drop here. No, no drop.
getting a weapon refill here lets you switch a super arrow and fly over the screen too, which saves a nice bit of time. Instead we're gonna use Buster here and proceed to one of the most difficult boss fight in the game.
Yeah, this boss fight. I'm gonna slide into this guy.
What? Oh, are you...
And then just like skip this screen because it's boring. Oh, whoop. I moved way too close to him.
So the straightforward strat here would be to use Power Stone and then pause cancel to take out the stone so you can shoot again.
Yeah,
but,
this is...
but every menu costs a second and a half, so that's pretty slow.
Yeah, as soon as something goes wrong in that fight, it's basically all over. You just have to like do it normally.
Yeah, if you do it perfectly, you only menu like once or twice.
Yeah.
And you shoot at the very, very precise position so that all your stones hit his iframes and disappear, so you need to menu. Or shoot them while he's doing this, that coal throwing thing, so that they are gone. So the stones hit on their last active frames and you can shoot again. But if you mess up anything in the beginning, it's you can't do the precise setups and it's almost impossible to improvise those triple hits. Wayman, we see Charge Kick. This is a very useful weapon in many ROM hacks where you have a quick switch added, but unfortunately in regular Mega Man 5 it just doesn't save the second and a half, which would be required for it to be worth menuing to it, except in this one spot where it lets you slide through those water spouts or whatever is it. And here Bubble Skip is one of the bigger individual tricks in the game. The intended route through these screens is to stand on those large bubbles, which will take you to the next screen. And bypassing that and using the small bubbles is actually really precise. You can't just stand on them whatever. You need to land on them just before the screen is about to scroll. Ooh. That was close.
Yeah, it was.
Also, normally there cutscene starts, which
I'm invisible.
Which forces you to walk into the boat, and in this section you're supposed to be in the boat and so on. But in Mega Man games, if you're sliding or jumping, the cutscenes don't start. And if you precisely do use those 3 super arrows, slide on them, jump onto the next screen, you can bypass the cutscene trigger and get here without the boat. And if you do that, you can walk off screen, which despawns your sprite, which is pretty convenient for those screens. Here again, you can't just mash as fast as possible. You need to space your shots so that you're not hitting its iframes. And it's also harder than it looks.
Bye.
If we were using beat, we would have to stay on screen here and kill those enemies, so because there's a ladder coming up soon, but in beatless we can just go away immediately.
You can't pick up the ladder without a sprite for yourself, unfortunately.
This is another boring spot in RTA, good spot for donations in a marathon run.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a few here, and oh boy. First of all, we have $10 from Kazooie, who says, "Have fun with this one, Kennyman. Silly Sally swiftly shooed 7 silly sheep. The 7 silly sheep Silly Sally shooed shilly-shallied south. These sheep shouldn't sleep in a shack, sheep should sleep in a shed. Stay comfy, speed friends." Oh boy. We also have $25 from Anonymous, who says, "What would Speedrun Marathon be without blindfolded turbo tunnel? Let's go!" And to give you an update on that, we are currently sitting at $1,304 out of the 2,000 required, and I am told that the cutoff for that is going to be at the end of Battletoads, so you still got some time to get those remaining $700 in.
Alright, and we're done with the Robot Masters, which takes us to Darkman stages.
Yeah.
Starting with the Mega Man 4, it's not only Wily Castle. In Mega Man 4 there's Dr. Cossack, which later turns out Dr. Wily blackmailed. In here we have Proto Man, which we later find out Dr. Wily framed. In Mega Man 6 we have Dr. X, which we later found out was actually Dr. Wily all along, but had a second castle for some reason.
You're spoiling everything for everyone now.
Sorry for people who haven't played the games yet. But not getting...
This screen is extremely difficult to do without like stopping.
And a couple more tricky jumps still. Getting under the tiger. Another tricky rush jump here too. But yeah, even in the darkness stages, we have we are done with free weapon refills. So if you want to get more super arrow or more rush jet, you need to get it through M tanks.
I almost jumped over rush.
Yep.
Shoutouts to Feral Pigman. Alright. Thanks for help, Rush.
Coming up is some Yoku block screens, which we will conveniently bypass with rush jet, obviously.
Yeah.
The boss of this stage is hopefully easy, but if anything goes wrong, it's he'll just be on top of you all the time and you can shake him off and it's just miserable. His weakness deals 3 damage, which adds up to 1 HP being left over, so by starting out with Buster dealing 1 damage, we get 1 basically free hit in. Here we also see Jokaah taking strategical damage boosts to lure the boss into a corner so that the explosion bubbles disappear quicker and we get
if possible you want to kill all the bosses in a corner. Reduce the lag.
Right, in Mega Man, especially from 3 to 5, lag is a huge deal, and half the time reason we kill enemies is not that they are in the way, but that killing them makes there be less stuff on screen, so that we get less lag.
So not having beat hasn't really been a problem up until this stage. This stage is where it starts noticing the difference, and I have to get this M-Tank.
Right, so there are a few different things you can do to make up for not getting an M-Tank from Crystal. You could pick up one from Stone, which is slightly slower than getting one from here, which is roughly equal with doing the next stage without an M-Tank, but the strats are much trickier with the no M-Tank route. So here we are opting to go for the Dark 2 M-Tank. Going through some spikes and bottomless pits here. This is a pretty dangerous stage if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of insta-death in this stage. Ah, bonk.
That's actually a very tricky damage boost because the hitbox of the crystals doesn't start out as full while they are charging up. Also the hitbox is at first smaller, so it's hard to judge the distance where you need to be to take the damage boost there. Another thing that you don't see here is that many enemies that will start moving once you shoot, and actually not just when you shoot, but when you press B, so you can fool them with charge shots which you shoot by releasing B. So for example, the previous tiger there didn't jump because Jokaah just released the charge shot and didn't actually shoot him. The thumpers that you have seen before often get triggered by intensely pressing B during a slide. And here's the first fight that we would otherwise use speed for. It's
oh man.
It's not hard to beat casually, but it's quite tricky to come up with the exact strats here, so that you can get your charge shots in without having to hit the shields or without having to wait.
Sketchy. It's one of those fights where stuff starts going wrong and you get hit like without expecting it.
Yeah, definitely. Dark 3, one of the more dangerous and one of the longest stages in the game.
Yeah, this one is tough.
It's even.
I mean, all of the dark and wider stages are kind of tough, but yeah, this one for sure. Some critical arrow usage here mid stage. Oh.
It tends to be even worse in ROM hacks because the original stage is long but has quite a bit of filler screens. Then ROM hacks cram this full of like dangerous screens and it's just obscenely long and difficult. And
yeah, super long stage.
And here we start seeing super arrows, which will cover most of the stage. Here getting to the first long screen that will fly over. This running on the front of the arrow that we have seen quite a bit of is to conserve energy. Super arrow drains extra energy while you're standing on the arrow, but running into it like that means that you get slightly fewer frames where that happens, so you can conserve ammo and have enough to do this movement here. This is pretty cool, this double arrow. First one to get under the platform first, and the second one to get over the spikes.
Yeah, that one is tough.
Then the first M-Tank usage. to do some more super.
Oh. Alright, swag.
Nice. And another tricky arrow here.
Ooh,
Is
that was high.
I think it's low enough.
Yeah, it's low enough, but I'm gonna take damage here.
Yep.
Down on the edge.
Slow boss fight coming up if you have a couple of donations.
We have a few here. We have $25 from Anonymous with no comment. Then we have $100 from Serg Hug Party, who says, Nesmania, we all believe in you. Go TMR. Glad to see TMR again. We're in for a treat. I forgot to put my previous 100 donation towards the blindfolded turbo tunnel goal, so have another 100. And we can actually
One
fix
way of doing
that,
it.
so...
A very short and unique stage coming up here.
Yeah, it's called the Primal Castle.
Some people
for reasons.
Some people like it, some people hate it. You need to clear these blocks to trigger the castle falling. There's a very specific sequence that we do in speedruns, and it quite often goes wrong.
It tends to eat your jumps, and you tend to miss blocks like that.
Yeah, whenever you
Horrible
kill a block,
stage.
the game eats your input for 1 frame, so since you kill them all the time, it's pretty easy to miss something because of that.
Not fully charged. I hope I get fully charged from the 1 frame or 2 frames I have here.
It's more than that. I think you're fine. Oh no, it was fake. Ooh, not quite. So if it was a fully charged shot, it would have extended a bit further and hit him between the shields.
So this is one of the fights you would use beat on, and it would be very trivial.
Yeah, if you just beat, you just stand still and wait for the stupid bird to do its stop. You maybe have to dodge once or twice to if you get bad patterns.
Alright, that was pretty slow, but I didn't die, which is very easy. Yeah, you have to like wait for the shield to either go in, or there's a few pixels at the top of his sprite where you can like headshot him every like no matter what.
And the game doesn't get any easier here or less dangerous. We have 2 long stages remaining, which are some of the hardest in the game. In Wall 1 specifically, we see some more super arrow usage, some tricky ones, and then Wild Crusher. During this cutscene, we could use some donations too, though.
We have a few more here. We have $10 from Dapper Dan Schoenig, who says, TMR, beat the game! And $50 from Kodetse, who says, Go TMR! Open them wallets for charity and great speedruns, people. Thank you very much for your donations.
So that's one of the cheapest E-tanks in any of these games. You'd lose a tiny bit of time getting it, but most people even at the top level do get it, because there are a couple of dangerous boss fights where it often comes in handy, and it really doesn't cost much. And the M-tank is about to get used again right here, just in time for the super arrow usage. And this is a pretty tight one, but we're in there. Delaying the movement a little here to avoid those enemies flying low and getting in your way. And now getting to the Wild Crusher, quite a dangerous part. The only part in the game
whoops.
that requires smashing. Oops.
It's fine. I just make it up by doing this.
Come on, shovel.
That's very stupid to go for.
Yeah, I haven't even tried myself. Is it like a 3, 4, 5 frame window?
I have no idea.
Just something like that. If you don't hit jump correctly, you just die, which is what you expect would happen when getting crushed.
I wasn't full health there, so I damage boosted in that screen instead. Much more safe.
Yeah, so this is one of the places where I was referring to, with the E-tank probably coming up handy.
Cool.
This is a pretty straightforward straightforward fight if everything goes exactly right. If anything goes wrong, it gets hairy.
Okay, good.
But we're good.
Yeah, it takes so much damage doing the normal strat on that.
Yeah, also the boss doesn't take any damage unless those two bottom platforms are out. He closes his eyes and he's invulnerable, so you can't just stay there at the top for a little bit more and shoot him. You need to take out the platforms again, and you need to dodge them, and you'll need to start dealing with the little enemies falling from the top of the sky, and it just gets annoying. 22, the only underwater stage in Mega Man 5.
That jump. The run killer.
A tricky thing about sliding in this game is that if you're sliding underwater or in front of a cloud or a ladder or any kind of object, you can't jump out of a slide. So if you try to do that in a critical point, you'll just fall down and die and look like an idiot.
Yeah,
so
let's not do that.
A few of the slides in this section are pretty scary.
Oh no, that was very sketchy, so I'm not going for that. So you can slide, I think it's four blocks, your slide is exactly 4 tiles.
Right, so that block is, if you slide in the very beginning of it, the slide ends conveniently just before the end, so you can do nice clean movement there, but if you slide a tiny bit too late, it gets dangerous, so if you're not completely sure you're getting through, you might want to just stop and do that. And finally the last M-Tank usage. We used it a bit as early as possible here, so that there's a few ticks of energy used here don't get refilled, as we don't need them anymore. Before we get to, what is it, Q9?
Yeah, circling Q9, I think. I don't know.
The worst boss anywhere, according to certain people.
Worst pad.
Yeah, he has a few different opening patterns that you ideally you space your shots exactly so that you'll get 2 hits in the beginning no matter what he does, but it's tricky.
Yeah, you can open those like doors or whatever and different points. That was like the most you can delay. I'm pretty sure.
Getting to refights.
Yeah.
Refights in later Mega Man games are...
This is very interesting. The refights in this game only consist of 1 fight.
Yeah, refights from Mega Man 4 and 4 on are really slow and annoying and boring. There's nothing exciting about it. But come on. A couple of years back, somebody, don't remember exactly who, on Taz videos figured out a way to bypass them in 4 and 5. The 1 in 4 is obviously difficult, it's just not realistically doable RTA, but Mega Man 5's is not too hard.
There we go.
Jokaah using 2 arrows setup here, that makes it a little easier. And gets us to Wily Press, which you normally only get to teleport to after killing all the 8 Robot Masters.
And I want him to go... I want him to go back and forth 3 times.
Yeah, so he has 3 different timings when he can come down. You want him to want the shortest one, which is fastest for obvious reasons. But if he does the very slowest one, you can tell it's coming, and you can tell when exactly he's going to open up. So you can use switch a super arrow and do the double hit that you just saw there. The shortest one is still faster, but
yeah, you want him to go back and forth 3 times, if like every time. That's very rare.
Yeah, but getting to do the double hit makes the slowest one better for you than the middle pattern.
We're gonna need some. All right, not right now, but coming up in this final boss, we're gonna need some
less RNG.
Less RNGs. I mean, huge amount of less RNG to get a good fight here to finish out a great run. Hope for some great luck.
This can cost like minutes, literally. This is why people don't do beatless.
Yeah, so the final boss is vulnerable to beat, which we don't have now, to gyro, which only deals 1 damage and is super slow, like a...
Come on.
Alright, so here we
so
go.
what we're gonna do is...
Less RNGs.
Less RNG.
We're gonna use Mega Buster here, which means if he decides to spawn high, we just can't hit him.
That's bad. Every time I switch to the arrow, it means it's bad.
Yeah, using gravity there lets you see beforehand where he spawns. And we get another Batman spawn. You can just stay on Buster and shoot blindly, which give you pretty solid odds. It's a valid strat. There are a few different methods you can use in this fight that end up being really close. But if you shoot from the left side, capsule spawns on the left. Before going blind.
Keep blasting. We need. Yeah. Just keep it up. Keep it up.
Yep.
It's gonna get very dangerous if I run out of gravity. Oh my god.
And here Jokaah's demonstrating us why most people still do this run with beat.
Hey, there we go.
Here we go.
Nice double. So that's 6 damage on one cycle. It's the most amount of damage you can get.
Right, so beat deals 2 and so you get 4 damage a cycle. So ideally you do 6 a cycle with Buster.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting now.
Alright.
Have you practiced the buffer timings?
Doesn't matter when he does that.
Right. So most hittable spawns you do hit with the buffer strat, but if he spawns right on top of you, that happens. And if we had gravity left, we would have seen he was there, gone to the other side and got the double hit in nicely. There we go.
What a fight, man. What a category. That fight honestly probably cost me like a minute.
Yeah, it's 7 seconds to spawn.
Yeah, so run beatless, guys. It's fun. Yeah, thanks for commentary. Great commentary. Cool kid as well.
You're welcome, welcome. Just want to mention one thing. If you got your Twitch Prime sub available, do check on that and enjoy the rest of the event. Great run, Jokaah.
Thank you. Yeah.